Hello. I'm so happy we can do live streaming again. It feels like a while since we last did it because we had to miss last Wednesday because we were on the road. And we did the Saturday before that. So it's been a while, 10 whole days instead of the usual week. And we're hoping that we can do live stream more than once a week going forward. So thank you for joining me today. And we always have to start with tea. So here I have a lovely hot pot of rooibos tea. So for those of you who are not South African, I've spoken about rooibos tea before in the past because I love rooibos tea. It's just literally, I think, maybe one of my favorites. And it's made from a plant that grows here in South Africa, which in English is called red bush. In Afrikaans it's called rooibos. And you can have it all different kinds of ways. I like to have mine black. You can have it iced tea. You can put lemon in it. You can have milk in it if you like. I prefer mine black. And it also is a very healthy tea. It's like almost a detox type of a tea. So there we have, well, I have my tea ready to enjoy with you. And I hope that you have your hot beverage or something to drink. Because here we are at live streaming, whatever the episode number is, I don't know. But what I do know is I have some announcements to make today. So what we're going to do is the usual. And that is I'm going to start off by talking to you, making the various announcements that have been requested that I need to make. And then whoever is visiting, I will then be able to answer some of your questions. If you are there and you've got questions or comments, please go ahead and start asking questions because those will just, I will look at those just now when I'm finished doing the announcements. Okay. So let me start with the announcements. I've just got some notes here to look at. Okay, the one announcement we wanted to make comes very specifically from the Oikos team, and they wanting to say thank you to everybody for being patient and understanding and just for being kind and nice people while we got all caught up and got through January, because January is the starting school calendar year as well as the actual calendar year here in South Africa. I know it's not like that all over the world, but our January is what somebody else's September is when they're starting their school year. So it's always our 3 months in 1 year, and it's now February, so things are a little bit more manageable because they get very intense in January. And thank you for your patience. Thank you for those of you who maybe had some struggles and you were just tolerant and we could help you, and thank you everybody. So we wanted to start with that special message from the Oikos team to thank you all. All right, and from me too, thank you for your just being there and supporting Oikos and that we could support you. And thank you for being understanding. All right, then the next announcement was that we've changed our payment gateway that some people would have noticed. And it hasn't necessarily gone very well for some people because, transition is like that. Sometimes it just goes nice and smooth and other times we hit some bumps on the road. When it comes to this payment gateway, I'd like to just explain something, and that is that we chose to go with a new payment gateway for the reason of the following. The reasons, I should say, because there's more than one. The one is security. The other one is efficiency and ease and speed and all those good things. The other one is for you to, I'm talking about on the website when I say efficiency and speed, but then in the natural and the practical, you're going to receive your order a lot sooner from Oikos because we've put this new payment gateway in place. This new payment gateway, the extra expense of it is directly on Oikos. It's not on you. So it isn't actually making any difference to the cost of things that you're getting from Oikos. The difference is simply that it's not the same as it was before. It's different. But it's different better. I'll tell you why. Because before, when you did an instant EFT, when you just did an EFT, you placed your order on Oikos site, then you went to your bank profile, online banking, and then you did a transfer, an EFT, electronic fund transfer, from your account to Oikos account. Then we had to wait for that to reflect on the Oikos account, which sometimes took 2 hours and other times took 2 days and sometimes took 2 weeks. So that all dependent on what's happening in the environment, in the banks, in the weather, in the internet connections, all those things would influence that, right? And then once it reflected in our bank, then we go, oh, look, there's a payment of that much for that order, put them together, okay, go onto the back end of the Oikos site and do the next steps. So all of that could take same day. If it was credit card payment, it was same day. But I'm talking about, I'll get to that just now, but I'm talking about EFTs before 2019. That's the process that it used to take. But we saw that credit card payments were instant because somebody paid online with a credit card. It immediately reflected in the on online banking on the credit card side of things. And immediately that order was immediately paid. So then the process just continued, zoom, and we got to the end of the process very smartly and quickly, and the next day the order went out. Wonderful. So we thought, hang on, if it's working so nicely for credit card, let's make it work as nicely for EFT. So how do we do that? So we did the research and we found out that we can do that with Instant EFT. But now, some people are nervous about Instant EFT because the page opens up, they're doing their order, and then they get a window that asks them to put in their account number for their bank. I'm not actually sure, I should know exactly what it asks for, but I haven't done it just today, so it's not clear for me exactly what comes up. But what it does in some instances, it makes a person nervous to think, oh, I'm not sure about putting my details there. But what I want to assure you is all it's doing is it's just actually taking you directly to your bank. That's what it's doing. It's like linking you directly there without having for you to go from one place to another, to another, to another, and come back again. You just junk right there and back again. Like, it's all integrated. But the most important thing I want to encourage you in and help you to just have peace of mind about, and that is it's safe. In fact, it's safer than EFT. We wouldn't have done it if it wasn't actually going to be better for you. We don't, or at Oikos, we're always trying to do things that make things better for people, easier and more cost effective and all those things, and efficiency and effectiveness and all of that. That's purely now on the clerical and the digital and the practical side. Of course, we've got the other side, which is the spiritual side, which is, that's why we do all the media and everything else, to try and be a support to you in that way too. But staying with EFT, I just want to encourage you to not be afraid of it and to say to you, I'm assuring you now that there's no way we would have made that step if we ourselves here at Oikos didn't do all the checks. We checked and checked for months to see that this was in fact safe, that the payment gateway that said that it was going to do what it was going to do was actually going to do that. And we really, really did check it. And we felt that it was fine to offer it to you, not just fine, but better. We felt we were bringing an improvement. But we can say all of that, and at the end of the day, obviously, you've got to decide whether you feel comfortable with it or not. So I was here today to tell you that Instant EFT is pretty much the same as EFT. The only difference being is it's a different method of getting there, but it's, when I say pretty much the same, there's nothing to be afraid of about it. What you were doing before, you're doing the same now. With Instant EFT, you're just doing it in a quicker way, right? But now there's more good news, and that is if you don't want to use Instant EFT at all, if you're just feeling unsettled about that, you can use a check card or a debit card. You don't have to have a credit card to be, so you're choosing, okay, credit card or Instant EFT. You can also use a check card or a debit card if it's Master or Visa. Because now you've got let's say you've got a debit card on your current account. I heard that one of the banks automatically issues a debit card. Whether you ever use it or not, that's what they issue with that account. So you've got a current account, you've got a debit card. Okay. But then I thought, because that bank did that, I thought all banks did that. I've since heard, no, not all banks do that. So I'm not sure which bank does what, and we can't keep up to date with what all the banks do and change and decide to do and not to do. But what I can tell you here at Oikos is that you can use now, currently today, you can use a check card or a debit card that's linked to your bank account, and you can put it in just as if it was a credit card, and it's like the same as doing an Instant EFT. So there's that. So I hope that you feel a little bit better about this. I nearly said more better. That wouldn't have been good English. But I was talking to somebody yesterday. They kept on saying more better to me. It's so much more better, she kept on saying. So now I've got that in me. Anyway, I really hope me talking to you about this instant EFT is going to help you feel more better about it. But if it doesn't, and if you're still feeling like unhappy or troubled by it, then please just write to us or phone us. And don't forget that there's the chat to us on our website as well now. And we found this has been so, so supportive, because when you're busy on the website doing your order processing and you have a little bump, or you find a little hurdle or something that isn't just going smoothly, you can go to chat to us right there when you're in the middle of your processing and saying, hello, my name is so-and-so, I'm busy with my order and this is going, I'm worried about this, whatever. And then you might not get an immediate response. We hope for that, but it's not always possible, because there could be other people that were in the queue just before you. But we will get to you, because even if we can't attend to it right then and there, you'll get a response to say, sorry, we can't attend to you right now, but we'll get back to you. And our goal is to get back to you within that same working day. But obviously, if you're going to get hold of us at 1 minute to the time that everybody shuts down and goes home, well, then the likelihood of you having to wait the next day is pretty high. But be that as it may, the goal is same day return, if not response, if not, well, then within a 24-hour period. Okay, so if you're not getting immediate help, please relax, please don't panic, because we are here to help you, and help will come. You might just have to be a little bit patient. All right, so that was the next thing that I was requested to talk to you about. The other thing that we wanted to talk to you about is something that's happened quite a lot in January is, if a mom isn't using one of the, she bought a complete set. Let me use an example of maths. She bought the complete set, the parent and the student and the test. Now she's going to get the next level, and a friend of hers needs the level she has. So she says, well, use my parent book, and I'm finished with them. I'm not using them anymore. And she sells it to her friend, or she gives it to her friend, or whatever way it works. Now the friend has got this maths parent book, and so now she only needs the student book, which she's very happy about the fact that, we hope she is, but that Oikos has now been able to separate all the maths resources. They used to be bundled, and that's how they had to be, because they Maths UC's program, not ours, we distribute for them. So we like to, comply with their requests of how they want it done. We don't like to do something different to how they're requesting. And so now, last year, they said we can split the products up, which we did. And so now this mom has got the maths book, the parent book, from her friend. She either bought it or was given to her. So now she goes onto the website and she buys the student book to match that level. And then she gets the student book and she finds, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I needed the test book as well. Or, oh my goodness, this looks different to this. And she goes, well, I wonder if they're compatible, because this looks like this is a spiral comb one and this is a bound one. I wonder if that, and then she writes to us and she asks us, do they match, and can I use this one with this one? And then what we must do is we must look and see which is the one that she's got. She needs to let us know. So she either takes a photograph or she tries to explain it. And now this mom is might eventually end up with the answer being, we're so sorry, but no, that book's not going to work. It's not compatible with your student book, because actually that was 3 revisions ago, or 3 generations ago, or 3 updates ago, whatever vocabulary you want to use. And so now this poor mom, if she bought it, that's even more painful, because now she's bought a book that she can't use. She can't return it to us. She didn't get it from us. She doesn't want to return it to her friend, because her friend gave it to her for a special price. Her friend doesn't need it anymore. But now she has to buy the new parent book. So here's what I'm going to suggest. First of all, I want to tell you that that's not our intent. We don't decide when upgrades are happening. And we know that just can happen. So we don't always get the warning we would like. We would like people who we distribute for, the principal suppliers, to say to us, we're going to do an upgrade in a year's time or in 6 months' time, so that we can start letting people know. But that doesn't happen like that always with everybody. So this is what we do here at Oikos. First of all, we suggest that you never, ever try and buy too far ahead. Only get what you need now. Don't think, okay, well, I'm going to get for the next 3 years, because by the time you reach those 3 years, you don't know if the, let me use an example. Let's say you bought the complete set of language, and now you're 3 years down the road and you're using it for your next child, and now you've found that lateral learning language arts through literature did an upgrade. And so now you've got a problem, because now the upgrade means that the student book, the parent book that you had that you thought you were going to use with the next child is no longer compatible. And you even watched the videos on the Oikos website that said, how you can just buy one set and then you can use it for years to come, which still applies if there hasn't been an upgrade that was done the month before. You see, so if you think about it, the people that are buying the latest upgrade now, that is going to apply for them. What we're talking about is that you can use their parent book for all your children. It's going to apply for them until the next revision is done. Now, we don't know when the next revision is. And let me just also speak about the principal suppliers, because I also have to say to you, it's not their intent, because you must understand the heart of these principal suppliers. It isn't just to do an upgrade just for the sake of doing it, because maybe if they did the upgrade, they're going to make it difficult for people to get the level. And that's not it at all. Let me tell you why they would avoid doing updates. It's extremely, extremely costly to them to do an update, number one, which I don't even need to go into all of that. I'm sure you can understand immediately why it is. But number two, sometimes some things are out of their control. For example, Latel. Let's say one of the readers that Latel was offering suddenly goes out of print. They don't have printing rights to put it back in print. We don't have printing rights. We can't source it anywhere. Now they've got a problem. They've got to rewrite that book study. They've got to withdraw that book. They've got to find another one that matches or fits the level and the whole ethos and everything else. And they are now to find that book, and they've got to plug it in there and rewrite things. So you see, it might end up that they assess it and go, you know what, we should maybe just redo this whole book, because we've been thinking for a while that we need to redo this particular level. So let's just redo the whole level, and let's look at the other books and see which other ones might be at risk of going out of print. So that is why I'm explaining all of that, the history and what goes on behind the scenes to you, so that if it happens that you have to buy another whole set, I want you to please not be too troubled about that. Be okay with that, because you're just making an investment into your child's life. So whether you had to pay an extra 300 or 400, whatever it is, more than you were expecting to, that is an extra investment into your child's life to get them the current book. Because to give them the book where it told them go to the library and look up the Dewey Decimal System, they're going to go, what? Whereas now it's, if they want to find things out, they've got internet and they have to learn how to use the internet. Well, not have to, but they've made the books more current for this generation, this time, this season. And that's going to be, what's the word? That's going to be, I can say appropriate. That's going to be relevant for now. Until that changes. But when is that going to change? We don't know. I think one thing we all are aware of is that change is happening faster than it used to, if you think. Things change quicker. So that's why I'm cautioning you even further. Just get what you need for now. And then next year, get what you need for then. Or in a few months' time, just go slowly. Don't try and over-order or over-purchase. Okay? So I'd put a lot of explanation into the EFT, now I've put a lot of explanation into this, because of the fact that it has been something that we've just noticed that has come up a lot through January, is this getting part of the curriculum from elsewhere, secondhand or given or whatever, and then trying to put the pieces together and finding they don't go together so well. And then there's that disappointment or that struggle or that financial commitment that you've now made in something else, and now there's not the finances to put the right pieces in. And if that's the case, I want to just suggest you also relax about that. You know what? It's okay. Just put some of the pieces that are not fitting together nicely, just put them aside. Just rest and wait on it, because you'll find you're going to use that somewhere down the line somehow. You're going to use it as a revision book or whatever. And if you don't have the funds because you've bought part of something and you can't use it, it's like buying a car and it doesn't have any wheels, so you can't go anywhere. You can still sit in the car. You can still enjoy it. You can look at it. So I'm just saying, don't stress about it. When the finances are back in place and you can actually get the other parts to make it all work, then that's when you can do that. And if you can't, because you made a mistake and you see it as a mistake and you feel very disappointed, I would like to help you not to be too disappointed. Some lessons are costly, and just learn from it and grow from it, and you'll be better off in the long run. Okay, so I hope that has helped that. All right, next one. Oh, isn't that interesting? Actually, I just have spoken to you all about that, and then I look at one of the questions that came in this weekend was all about the different revisions of the books. I'm just going to say hello to some of the ladies that are there now, because thank you for joining me. And some of this might not even be applicable to some people, because I don't know which parts of the world you're in. Here we have Imelda. Hello, Imelda. And Sylvie's there, Sylvie. Sylvie, faithful Sylvie, always there to spur me on here in the live streaming. Thank you. And Kay's there as well. Hello, everybody, Kay is saying. I want to say a big thank you for the smiley face, a squishy ball. Oh, yay! They got a squishy ball. They got a little ballie. Your children, Sylvie's children, got one of these little ballies, little bouncy ballies. I'm so glad. Now you got the discs. Your children have got these. One for each child. And now you've got a little ballie. I suppose you've only got one. I'm sure you don't want more than one. We'll sort that out, won't we? Okay. We've got these little balls. Why? Because January, it's February now, I know, but January's been the focus of Joyful January. That's what we've been focusing on. So our little ball, bouncy balls that remind us to be joyful. And Annalie is there as well from Canada. Oh, good. You made it. Thank you, ladies, for joining me there. And if you've got any questions to ask me today specifically, you know what to do. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue with, I think the announcements are done. I think, maybe not. Those were announcements. There's now, the next thing is questions. Let's see. Just going to quickly check that I have done the announcement that's were requested. All right, there is something else that I missed. And that is, I just have to have a sip of my rooibos. The thing that I missed was that to announce about the live streams. Now, those of you who are there, I appreciate you being frequent visitors of our live streaming. I really appreciate that. What I'm going to ask you to do is do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do and subscribe on the YouTube channel, and then click the bell to remind you and put the comments in and all of those. Because when you're doing that, that is somehow reaching out to other people and getting the message to them to more than what we can. You help us to do that. So I'm going to encourage you to do that, but I'm going to take it another step and say to you ladies that we are wanting to continue with this live streaming this year. In between our live streaming, we're having meetings with internet providers and doing what we can just to make sure we can keep this coming, because as you've heard, it's been quite something just to keep it in place. But we are determined to, and we want to keep it in place. And so by keeping it in place, we want to encourage people to be able to attend the live streaming, because, Annalie, that mini moms retreat that you spoke of that time again has really, really resonated with me. And I'm just feeling excited about our live streaming being about that. So I want to get the announcements out the way. Boom. And the announcements are important because they topics that people are struggling with and need some support and help with. And then it helps the Oikos team, you see, because when I've shared about the various things that they're struggling with, the Oikos team to help the people, then the Oikos team can send the people to this section of the video for them to watch the announcements. And then when they get to this part in the video where we're talking and having a little mini mom's retreat, if they don't need that, or they don't want to continue watching the live streaming, from then they don't need to. But my goal and hope and objective is for us to get the announcements done for the sake of supporting those people and their practical needs, the whole clerical and all that stuff, and then get to the mini moms retreat. So we're having like these digital cyberspace mini moms retreats. So thanks to Annalie for bringing that label to our live streaming sessions, they're going to be mini moms retreats. That's what I'm hoping for them to be. I'm hoping for them to become dedicated as that, because as you know, we have a actual physical moms retreat every second month in the year. But this little mini moms digital cyberspace moms retreat, we hope to have every week. And if there's enough call for it, hope for it, if there's people that actually would like it, then what we're going to try and do is separate them and have an announcement live streaming and a dedicated mini moms retreat live streaming time. See? So that's what we're trying to get to, and we want to ask you to help us to get there so that we can just hopefully be more helpful to more people. Okay. Right, now to some other hard questions. This mom asked me, what can she do? Okay, I'll read her question. She says that she's got a child that struggles with bad health. The child is often sick. And when this happens, it takes weeks for her child to get better. And because their lifestyle is they do all their lessons together, well, I added that part. Because we do all our lessons together, I struggle with knowing what to do. I feel like it's not right to expect my other children to start for long periods of time, a few weeks at a time, when the other one gets sick. That's the question. This is a very, very, very real living example. And I would like to say to anybody who's watching this, I don't think there's a household or family that hasn't at some point experienced somebody in the family not being well, and now suddenly it's a different set of considerations because you're home educating. So if somebody wasn't sick before, the other children went to school and the sick child stayed home, and you looked after the sick child while the other children went to school, but now they're all at home. And now you're thinking, okay, I want to take care of the child who's sick because clearly that's the child that needs the attention, the care, because they're not well. And now, but how do I do that and at the same time see to my other children's learning? And so you know what I did, because I know this is a very, very real concern that people have, moms have. So you know what I did? I did a 2-part series, part 1 and part 2. Of sick children. I think it's actually called Sick Children Part 1 and Sick Children Part 2. And Jamie's going to put the link there for that. And I would like to encourage anybody who would like to just get some ideas, some practical support, some understanding about that. Because whether you're aware of it or not, but we had chronic illness in our household the whole way through our learning lifestyle when our children were at home. We have children that had chronic illnesses. So I really had to call on the Lord and ask him to help me to be creative and endure through the days, because some days were really, really difficult with illness. And what I learned and what I gained from that, I believe, was from the Lord. And I was very, very enriched and blessed for that, having to go through that valley of suffering. And because of that, I made a couple of videos to talk about it. And they're on the website. And I'm going to ask you to do something now, Jamie. Won't you just go onto the Oikos homepage, onto the Oikos website, and just put in the search field sick children and see what happens? Because what we're trying to do here at Oikos is really get our search field to be working so efficiently for you that when you have a question like that, my child is sick, what to do, you can go and put whatever's in your mind in that search field. Something like unwellness. I mean, what is it? Ill health. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not getting my words right today. But if you can put there sick children or bad health or whatever, what we do this side is we put those kinds of words into the search engine on our website, and we see what we get. We see if it's actually what you need to be getting to point you and guide you in the direction of being able to access that support that we've put there for you. So those who are there with me today, if you want to give that a bit of a test and a go when you can in between things and see what your results are and let us know so we can improve that. Thanks, ladies. Right, so that's the sick children question. I really hope that mom, if she's watching this after the fact or at the moment and she had that question, I do hope that you will be able to watch those videos of Sick Children Part 1 and 2. Okay, now the next question. I'm actually not able to read this question out loud, exactly what it is, because here at Oikos, we never ever presume to think we can tell you about other people's curriculum and what we think of them and whether we think it's good or bad or the resource, or do you think I should have this science book or that maths book, and what do you think of this maths curriculum? Because to be honest, the chances of me having never seen the maths book or the science book or the language books, the art book, whichever, that the person has asked me about, the chances of me never having seen that book is very, very high. Because I don't look around at all the different curriculums, because we have what came onto this path of Oikos, what came into this lifestyle, into this basket, into this place called Oikos, what came to us, we have shared. And when it came, it was, wow, this is amazing, look what God has provided. And then we would use it and we'd be even more wowed, and then we go, we've got to share this with people. And then that's what we've done. Okay, so it wouldn't be right for me to tell you what I thought of other curriculum, because I haven't used it. I don't have the experience of having even seen it and even tested and tried it, let's say, because the curriculum that's in Oikos, we've used all of the curriculum when they're there, because the fact that we used it was, oh my goodness, this is amazing. That might not apply to every single resource in Oikos now, because now children are adults, and we might find something that looks like it would be a real blessing for families, but we don't have children to use it to do everyday home education with. So then we would give it to a few families and say, won't you use this and give us some feedback, which we've done repeatedly. And then we would have the same feedback from them saying, they don't think this is Oikos friendly because it's got this and this and this in it, things that we wouldn't have known. And we go, well, thank you very much for that. Shelve that one. But then they might come back with a different report and say, this is fantastic, it's just the heart of Oikos. And we go, okay, thanks. And then we find a way to be able to offer that to you. Okay, so this particular question was asking about free curriculum and speaking about specific ones. That you can, as moms out there, you can go onto Google, which remember we didn't have when our children were growing up. We didn't have the Google access. But now you can go onto Google and you can look for a curriculum for, I'm going to use maths as an example. And you can find loads of different free maths curriculum. And then you download it, and then you use it, and then it didn't cost you anything, supposedly. But, I mean, you've got to download it, you've got to have internet, and you've got to maybe print it out. And people think it's free, but not really, you know. But there's still some cost somewhere along the line. But anyway, let's just say you got it at a really, really minimal cost, or even somebody else did all the steps and has just handed it to you. And now this mum is telling me, she's been using this one that was free. Somebody's told her she should use something else that is provided through Oikos, but it's expensive. And so why would she go with that when she can get it free? So, good question. But my answer to her is, you know, expensive is relative to whoever's looking at it. Some people are going, yo, the Oikos resources are so affordable. I was paying this much for school fees, and now I pay that for all of my children for the whole year, and I was paying that just for a term or a month. And so, like, they're just so impressed with how incredibly affordable it is and the value of the resources. And then other people are going, oh, I mean, you know, it's a struggle to put food on the table. So how on earth can they even consider justifying to themselves buying a maths book, for example, when they need to feed their family first? Right. So now that maths book is an expense. It's an expense they cannot afford. And so then they go with the free curriculum, because why wouldn't they? Because they've got something. It's better than having nothing. Right. So now how do I answer the question whether a mom should rather get the maths book that we've got to provide versus just the free one? Well, I definitely can't be saying to that mom that you should get the maths book we provide, because that mom needs to feed her children. Okay, maybe her husband's been out of work. I don't know what her circumstances are. And if she can find a free curriculum that she can use, fantastic. But what I can tell you about the resources that Oikos has, there's a price to them, obviously, because they're not free, because of all the whole thing, what comes with them, and that the people who supply them and the principal suppliers all also need to feed their own families, and all the Oikos team people that are behind the scenes making the books and the printers and all the expense involved. It's just huge. And so the price goes up, and so the petrol goes up, and so I think you call that fuel. No, they don't call it fuel. Some countries, I think you call it gas, actually. Jamie, do they call it gas in some countries? Gas. For us, gas here is not petrol. They're two separate things, but anyway. In South Africa, the petrol price just went up and up and up, so then that affected everything. It affected the food price. It affected everything. It affected our service contracts with people, because now they had to put their prices up because they needed to come out to service the machines, but it cost them more to come out, and so on and so forth. So we could go on about the cost of the resources. But what I'd rather do is say to this mom that the resources that we have here, to me, have come by God's hand. And how do we improve on that? For this ministry, he brought those resources here. And the people behind those resources, I'm going to go back to maths, because Steve Demme, who is the founder and developer and everything of the maths program, has a heart of gold. He has a ministry called Building Faith Families. And it's just, that's the man behind the curriculum. And he wrote Maths You See to help parents to teach their children maths and to not be afraid of it, and teach them to be good stewards and to get them to love maths. And it works. That's the thing. Is I don't know if this free curriculum is going to work, and if there's going to be the completeness, if the education is going to be as thorough and as fantastic as it is with example Maths You See. I can go with every one of the resources, but I'm sticking with the maths as an example now, because people who use Maths You See just say how they love it. They say how it works. They say how it helps the parent. They say how it prepares them for tertiary if they're going into higher level of maths. And it works. And what Steve does with the way he presents it is he teaches a concept. He helps the student develop the skill and then master that before moving on. So it's like so comprehensive. It's so thorough. And it works. So I know that that's not just a straightforward answer. This lady really just wanted me to say, why should she get that and not that? But I say I haven't seen 90% of these curriculum people ask me. When they do in the same question, and there's obviously now a lot of people getting this particular curriculum because it's going around the social network and they're talking about it, so I get curious. And I go and I have a look at it. And I start looking at it, and then I notice something online. I notice that the foundation of this particular curriculum is founded in something that I know is not something we would touch. Just when I say something, I mean, for an example, Oikos founding scriptures seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. So there's our focus. There's our rock. You see, so if I look at something that makes me unsettled from that perspective, then I don't look further. Because, okay, well, we wouldn't use that. I'm talking about personally, our family. Then I take it the next level and go, would we supply that or offer that through Oikos? Definitely not. So it might be fantastic because it's free, and it might be fantastic because it's pretty, and it might be fantastic because of all the things that it's fantastic about. But that one little thing could be enough for us to think, this isn't something we have peace about to go forward with. So what happens is I might get that out of my curiosity and going and exploring. And then I start to hear some testimonies from people that they got this, and they downloaded it, and then they discovered something along the way. And then they feel terrible that they didn't know that they were going to discover that, and they didn't know, and their child didn't know, and now they go, whoa, they're not going to use that anymore. And then they have to look for something else. But it was a journey, and they learned through that journey, and didn't cost them anything because it was free. It might have cost them time. You see, as I said, nothing's really free, is it? There's a price to pay. It just might have been a different kind of price. Okay? And actually, the more we pay for things, the greater the cost, the greater the value in the lessons. That's what I've discovered. I'm not necessarily talking about rands and cents now. Okay. I seem to take very, very long on one answer. Oh, Imelda, you say school is loads more fun with Oikos resources. How about me suggesting that learning is loads more fun with Oikos resources? Because, you know, Oikos doesn't really do school. You know that, hey? Oh, and Kay has told me it's gas in the USA. Thank you, Kay. See, I didn't look at these things till now. Oh, that's a good question. Annalie, what are some good ways to bring out a quiet child into discussion time? That's a very good question. I think you know what I'm going to say, and that is I would pray for that child, and I would ask God to show me his heart for the child, because a quiet child sometimes just needs to be a quiet child. And we don't actually need to bring them out in discussion. But you know what's coming to me? Is that I'm remembering. I'm remembering a situation where I had this experience, where I think you might be able to relate to this, of a very, very quiet child, but desperately quiet, just not even speaking, talking, not sharing, not engaging, nothing, that quiet. And my heart went out to this child because I thought, like you're talking about bringing them out, and I thought there must be a way that we can help this child come out. And what I needed to do was I needed to go for a walk with this child. So I did. I went for a walk with this child, and I wanted to hold the child's hand. The child was about 10 at the time. I wanted to hold the child's hand. But every time I wanted to hold the child's hand while we were going for a walk, I felt no. I just check with it almost. I wanted to, no. So I just didn't. So we just walked. We walked and we didn't talk, and I didn't take the child's hand, and we just walked, and we walked in silence. And then I would notice something that I would comment on myself, like something in the forest or whatever, and then not expound on that, just comment and carry on. And you know that I did that a few times because this was a situation where this child was actually staying with us for a period of time. And I did that a few times. And I can't tell you now exactly how many, whether it was on the second, third, or fourth, or fifth walk. I won't be able to recall the exact number of walks, but I just recall it being one where we just had to be patient and steadfast with this, whereby go for a walk. That was it. Just that was all. That was all the instruction I had, was just take the child for a walk. Eventually, this child would then start, I would share something, comment on something, and then the child would comment on something that was of interest to them. It had nothing to do with talking about how they're feeling or what's troubling them or anything. It was just comment. Look at that pretty butterfly. I wonder what kind of butterfly that is. You know, I would sort of ask myself a question out loud. And now I'm actually, as I'm referring to the story, I'm remembering the detail. And I'm just remembering now that this child actually went down the ground and spotted a creature, like a little worm or something, and was telling me about this creature, this insect. It wasn't an insect, bug. Telling me about it, its name and its legs and how many and how they work and how it makes a sound, and I was absolutely fascinated. So what I learned from that was this child had so much, as you maybe reason why you're asking the question is, you know that the child has so much within. It doesn't necessarily need to come out in discussion. That child might just need to be alone to be able to talk about those things. And maybe when there's a group, they will always just be more quiet in a group setting than on a one-on-one setting. Maybe that's just how God has made that specific person. So I don't know if that's helpful. I don't have an immediate answer or suggestion on how to bring that quiet child out, other than share that story with you. Okay has just commented here that free curriculum usually means a lot of printing. I wouldn't know because I've never done free curriculum downloads, but that was the first thing that came to my mind when people tell me about free curriculum. And you know what? I'm now remembering another story because we had a mom's retreat, and this lady chose to tell everybody at the mom's retreat, don't ever commit to free curriculum. She had the funniest story because she said she went to the print shop to print down, to have her free curriculum printed out. She went with her flash stick, and it cost a fortune. She got home and she said she couldn't tell him halfway through, no, stop. She said she got home and she then had to tell her husband how much their free curriculum cost. And she said that she basically was sharing, but she was being very amusing how she was telling the story at this mom's retreat. She was basically warning all the mothers, don't do that. Don't go with the free curriculum because this is what it cost me. It was very funny. She told us her the whole story. Okay. Oh, there's Crystal. Hello, Crystal. Crystal has joined us. What do I suggest for a student that struggles with reading comprehension? When she reads, it's very hard for her to relate back or answer questions about the story. But if I read, it's right. So then she does actually have comprehension. I tell you, I don't know what the age of your child is, Crystal, but you know what could be happening here is it's too many different skills at the same time. I think of music. You know, if you're going to learn to play an instrument, you've got to learn the instrument, then you add to it, then you've got to learn to play certain notes, and then you've got to learn the lyrics of the song that you're playing, and then you've got to learn the rhythm or the beat with it, and you can't just do it all at the same time. You learn the one, and then when you've got that mastered, you add the next one, and then you add the next one, and you add the next one. So what I think's happening here is, I don't know the age of your child, but what it's sounding like to me is that when you're reading to her, she's not having to do too many skills at once. So when she's reading, all her skill and focus and attention is put into what she's actually reading. When she reads, it's very hard for her to relay back because her focus, her mental energy and everything was taken up with just the skill of reading. And now you want her to tell you back what you've read. So she's having to, what she read, so that she's having to develop that skill before she can do it. Whereas when you're reading to her, she's not having to, do the mental gym that she's having to when she's reading herself. So time and be patient, and it'll come, and don't stress, because if she's reading at the moment, great. If she can't answer the comprehension questions, let's say she read the story aloud and there's some comprehension questions at the end, then you can just chat about it. Just chat. Oh, yes, and you read that out loud. You read it so beautifully. And I remember when you read about, when you spoke in your story, when you're reading, you spoke about this person and that person, this happened and that happened. And you can answer the comprehension question. And so that is going to encourage her to see what happens when you relay the story. What happens is you're enjoying the story over again, and you're taking it on for yourself. You're like remembering it. And it's not just reading finished. It's helping you to remember the story and the experience. So you can just give her some encouragement. Oh, that's exactly what Kay's saying. Is some children are just not ready to answer questions after they've read a long chapter. So she just suggests asking questions every now and then, every couple of sentences, just to see if the child is comprehending. But even then, I have a family member that had a tremendous struggle with reading. And so I read for the family member. And then I would ask that person, that child, after I had read, what was going on. And I did that, what you suggested, Kay. I would stop every now and then just check if they're actually really listening and see if they can answer some questions. And sometimes the child would just answer them, and other times just not. So I realized it actually also depended on the day, how well the child was feeling, whether they were interested in the story, whether they had just stopped listening because it's no longer of any interest. You see, many factors can play into that. It's very likely, Annalie, that she needs one-on-one time, the child that you're wanting to bring out to be able to be involved in discussion. Probably needs one-on-one. You've got a few children, and maybe that is the one child in the group that actually needs that alone time. Okay. Just going to go and have a look at... I'm so enjoying you ladies being there with me today. It's so nice chatting to you. Okay, this lady, this mom, wrote a question, and she says it's not in the questions today. It came in just before live streaming. You know what she said? She said she started home educating this year, 2019, and she wants to give up. She says, I want to give up. And you know why she wants to give up? I'm going to tell you now. After 1 month. Because, I don't know where this mom's writing from, but she wants to put her children back to school because she wants to give up because they fight all day long. You know what I would be saying to this mom? That is the very reason why not to put them back to school. Because if there's so much friction and tension and fighting and unrest going on in your home, that's enough reason to all be at home together and sort it out and spend time in the Word and talk about why fighting and being unkind to one another is not acceptable by God. He says, be kind to one another. And I'm just thinking of, at some stages in our lives, we had some foster children. I remember saying to the one of our little foster daughters, I told her, that's not very kind now. You must be kind to your sister. She says, no, she says she's not going to be kind to her because her sister doesn't like it when she's kind to her. Oh, really? No, she says she's just ugly back to me, so why must I be kind to her? So then I could spend time with this foster daughter, sharing with her that God didn't say to us, be kind, and if the other person's not kind, well, then you don't need to be kind anymore. That's not what God said. God said you can't continue to be kind. It's harder to be kind to your enemy. It's easy to be kind to your friend. So you need to be kind. I'm not saying that the sibling's an enemy. I'm just saying that it's not about the response of the other person as to why you've been kind. It's because you've been obedient to God. And so if you just constantly continue with being kind, then what's going to happen is you're going to get the fruit of that, you as the individual, because you're transforming your own anger and unkindness into kindness, and so you're going to be blessed. And then the child that you just persistently being kind to is also going to be blessed, whether they're receiving it or not receiving it, or reacting badly to it or not. That's not what the person who's chosen to be kind must be focusing on. So what I would say to this mom is that to start the day with sharing with the children the importance of being obedient to God and being kind to one another, and what are the rewards of that, and what does God say? In Proverbs itself, there's so much about that, about walking in kindness and walking in love towards one another. I mean, it's just everywhere. It's all over the Bible. Just decide to do a Bible study on kindness and love and gentleness. And if you see strife in your family, just suddenly there's a little flare-up moment, I would say one of the huge blessings of home education is you can stop everything right there and then and say, okay, we have some unpleasantness here. There's no longer peace in our home. We need to have peace in our home so the rest of the day can be glorifying God. So let's sort this out. And then there might be he said, she said, and so on. There might be even more tension. But as a mom, you have the opportunity to sit with each child and help them to understand the value of being kind. And also, you have the opportunity to have the authority and say, we don't permit unkindness in this home. That's all there is to it. You may not be unkind to your sibling, your brother, your sister, brothers, sisters. But then you can't just say to them, you must be kind and stop. You've got to help your children. Okay, so now here comes the moment. I know I can't do live stream without the moment. Konos. There's a unit in here called love and generosity. And there are so many activities. If the mom, are going, but I'm out of ideas on how to help them, and I've tried this and I've tried that, and it's still not working. My children are still fighting. Well, you see, because we did Konos, we lived Konos, what happened is we became immersed in loving one another. And how does that look, and what does that look like? And all this unit just full of activities of practices that we could put into place and activities we could do so that we can practice loving one another. And, you know, as you say, you might have thought, I'm worn out now. I don't know. I've tried to help the children to stop fighting, but they're just carrying on. And so that's the children. That's just children. They just fight. I hear parents saying that. Oh, they're just children. They fight. Well, not according to this. According to his word, he said we're to love one another. So that doesn't look like a very godly picture if they're fighting. So tell your children that it's not a pleasant atmosphere or environment for us to do our learning and our loving and being a family. And so then don't do any other kind of learning. Just focus on that. Focus on bringing peace into your home. So this mom whose children are just fighting all the time, I would suggest that she starts there and then she starts doing some fun things, so that she can just have a break from feeling exhausted from her children fighting, and just maybe she's just constantly correcting. And if you're constantly correcting, it can get exhausting. So rather than just spend your day correcting, rather say, right, I'm not going to spend any more time on trying to correct this behavior. We're going to do something about it. We're going to practice the opposite. Unkindness, now we're going to practice kindness. So now that's where your energy is going. Your energy is going into practicing, teaching your children to be kind and giving them tools, just like the mom who was talking about reading, waiting for her child to develop the skill of being able to read and do comprehension after, and do it in little tiny steps. So as she's building that skill, same in character, we need to practice the characteristics and practice those traits to pull the bad out so that the good can grow. Just hope this mom doesn't put her children back in school because they're fighting and that she doesn't know what else to do. I don't think the answer is put them back in school. And Kay's saying the Joy Unit helped her family. Yay! Oh, it's a whole hour that we've been doing live streaming. Thank you for joining me on the live streaming. See you soon, Sylvie. And the rest of you, thank you for joining me and for being there. And I look forward to our next live streaming together. I hope you have a glorious week, a fantastic week filled with peace in your home and love and laughter. I hope that's what your week is going to be like. Bye for now. See you next week.